Good to be here today. It's good to be back. I pray you had a good week. We'll be in the book of Genesis chapter 6 for our main verses this morning. We got quite a bit of ground to cover today, so the water's shallow, but we're going to move through it quick. This is something that we studied about 2 years ago here, and this week God set on my heart I couldn't get away from it. Away from home this week, this thought just kept bouncing around in my mind. And it's sort of a title for this today. It's called Look Around. Just look around. Something we all say, it's something we've all said. And the thought is, we never know, this could be our last Sunday here. This could be the last Sunday you ever walk these doors. I could have went on my last vacation this last week. For a lot of different reasons, that can be the case. For whatever scenario that's running through your mind. But any way you look at it, we're not long for this world. It's easy to get tired today, this day and time. We're a busy people. Our schedules are full. My schedule is full. I usually have to bump something off of it to add something to it. Every minute of our day is usually spoken for. Time is a precious thing. And time is something we all have said. I've read many books. It's the greatest gift I could ever give you is my time. And if you give me your time, I don't take that for granted. We'll never get it back. Not here. The world is a constant pressure against God's people. It's not something that may, hit you once and knock you down. It's death by 1,000 cuts every day for God's people. It's something steady that sets against us. Sometimes it just feels like a weight. And we're just constantly in this tug of war with time and flesh and the things that are going on. Hold your place in Genesis. We're going to be in Hebrews 11 for just a few verses if you don't care. Hebrews 11, we all know, is the chapter, I'll say it. I cringe a little to copy everyone else, but it is the hall of faith. The greatest thing that we will ever understand about Hebrews chapter 11 is these people were no different than you and I. We look at them like they're on a pedestal because we put them there, and they should be, because we look at ourselves as the chiefest of sinners. But at the end of the day, they were born to a sinful man and a sinful woman. It's attainable. It's relatable. Don't forget that. Hebrews 11, verse 1 is one of my favorite verses in the Bible. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I don't really have to teach that. It teaches itself. We cannot find a better, more definite definition of faith from God's Word. Faith is not seeing and believing, it's believing and seeing. It is acting in something that you have not yet seen. It's not been yet revealed to you. And we're going to talk about Noah today, so we got to look at verse 7. By faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear. He prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became the heir of righteousness, which by faith. Noah's righteousness condemned the world. Did you pick up on that? Did you see that in that verse? Now we're going to explain that. But he gives himself one verse in this hall. Not perfect, but relatable. And mighty in faith. Something we should all long to gain. That in the trial, that in the valley, in the day and time we're in, and the challenge, that we're not responding in the flesh, but in faith to rise above and to serve God. In faith for his honor and for his glory, right? This verse, Noah warned of God. I'll ask you this morning, have you had a warning of God in your life? I have. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. But he convicted me and showed me I was a lost sinner. He warned me of things to come, and it was going to take faith in that place to avoid what was coming. I've had a warning that I heard. The Holy Spirit told me I was lost and I needed Jesus, and it was only possible by faith to please him. The only problem was I had no faith. And I dug for it for several months. Still never found it. But he gave it in his time. Remember, Noah is a man like you and me today. Look around is the idea. But remember, who we are reading today Could easily be named Roger or Derek Bryan. Noah warned of things he hadn't seen. As a matter of fact, no man on earth had seen. We have trouble having faith in things that God did for us last week, let alone it's going to rain and you're going to build a boat for 100 years, 120, and guess what? I'm going to raise it up off the ground. All right, cool, I'll do it. Well, God, I know you did it for me last week. I don't trust you with it this week. It says he moved with fear in this verse. That is an awesome reference of God. It is in all of, you are God, Lord Jehovah, and I am sinful man. Why me, Lord? A reverence in all of God. Yes, I believe he feared God. Yes, I believe he feared judgment. But I believe he feared separation. As God's people, what do we fear? Separation. I fear separation. I don't want broken fellowship. I don't want to get so far that it's hard for me to go back. I fear that. Do you think Noah understood all the details of what God was going to ask him to do? Do you? No way he fully understood everything God was working. Yet he took God serious. Look around today. Look at your family. Look at what's in your homes. Look at what's in your heart mainly. And look in the world. What is going on today? It hadn't even rained a drop on earth ever, and yet Noah believed God. We have a warning of things coming. What are we doing? 120-year gap. He was mocked. He was called crazy. Yet he believed God would bring a flood through rain. We read the prophecies in the Gospels. We read it in the book of Revelation. We can believe all that, but are we acting? Look around. The question this week, when his word says something contrary to world belief, what you've been taught your whole life, or popular belief, to whom do you believe? Who do you obey? So let's get in Genesis chapter 6. We're going to do this whole chapter, so we've got to move quick. Saw a lot of Christian stuff this week off. It was good to get away. Believe it or not, I was witness to this week. We walked into a store. There was some books. So I started reading. I won't give the title or talk too much about it. I want to know what it was about. The title was very enticing to me. I read 3 or 4 pages. It was seeming pretty good. The owner of the store there, he prays with people. He holds his prayer thing and all this. He got a hold of us, wouldn't let us go. I mean, for like an hour, I could not get away from this guy. His gospel presentation was spot on. Now, the rest of it, we won't talk about. He was telling me about the power that he's seen God work in his life and other people's lives. Sounds good. Some of it sounded a little different. But I'm going to tell you, his faith put me to shame. I felt ashamed listening to him talk because he had faith that would move a mountain. And I don't even know that I would have faith to cut the first tree down. My family's smiling because the guy's presentation was a little different. But I'm going to tell you right now, I left there convicted. People would come in the store, he was saying, hey, can I help you folks with anything? He was telling about the few times he's witnessed. I mean, this guy talked to us about God for an hour and nothing else. Well, we're just here looking around. Well, I don't know why you're here, but God must have brought you here today. I'm just going to say, how many people in here witnessed like that in our church? I left ashamed. A day or two into this vacation, I'm just telling you how this lesson came together. This big cargo ship's ocean liner was miles off the coast. I mean, I was watching a boat go out too. It was taking 30 minutes to an hour. It was so big, though, it looked like it was just right there. You know, things in the water look closer than they really are a lot of time, right? But it's so big, and the boats that were closer to shore just looked like little pebbles in its way. At night, it would light up. It looked like a floating sea out there. And I thought about that boat. And would I have the faith that Noah had? If I told my family, hey, things are getting rough here, we're getting on this boat right now. Would they follow me? Because I'm the one who said it. Am I living that kind of life in front of them? If I ask you to go with me, would you? Because you'd be like, no, Jason, you're crazy. I know you. But Noah did. Would I have enough credibility in my own home or in my own church to say, guys, we can go? If I own that store like that man, would I witness to everybody coming in the door? I'm telling you. People are out there giving other people something to believe. And sometimes it's the truth and sometimes it's not. What are we doing? Let's read these first 8 verses, and I want us to think about it. This is what the world was like in Noah's time. It came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, Genesis 6, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of the men, and they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, they bare children to them. The same became the mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And God saw the wickedness of the men, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination and thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created for the face of the earth, both man, beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. So this is what the world was like. Again, I'll say, look around. I'm not going to teach these. We've done this several years ago, verse by verse. But it does it sound like if in verse 8, Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, and then read the first 7 verses, does it sound like anyone else was walking the same path Noah was on? Was Noah the only one on that road? Who's on your road? Who's on the road with you right now? Are you walking a very unpopular road? Or are you walking with everyone else? Are we going with the flow? We're swimming with the current or against the current? Every generation of God's people were becoming deluded. They were looking at the world, they were looking at the earth, they were looking at the daughters of the world, and they were giving in to the fleshly desires. They were giving in to their lust. Kind of a Solomon thing at the end of his life, right? Where they forgot God. Every generation became more like the world. So, simple thought, quit trying to be the exception to the rule and be the exception to the world. We can look around and we can feel this way. We can feel that the world has become so wicked. We forget oftentimes the gutter we were in. There was uncleanliness, marry anyone. You remember, and I won't get into it, some of you are going to raise eyebrows, there were demons. The world was full of blasphemy, self-pleasure. Don't need to do it God's way, my choice. This was Noah's time. Yet, Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord in verse 8. Pleasing God and walking by faith. Walking by faith equals walking with God. Noah was the weirdo. I'm going to talk to everybody that's got kids home, or grandkids, or a neighbor, or a kid in church that you talk to. Sometimes it's hard raising kids in the world. Your home's different. Our church is different. Sometimes it's hard to raise them in home, to raise them in church, to go to the mall, to go to the beach, to go to the mountains, to go anywhere outside of that country. You know, one of the greatest things, and Matt and I are in here this morning, but when you got a young child, you like to stay home a lot, right? Well, the house is baby-proof. All the outlets are covered. They can't reach nothing. The drawers don't open unless you got to push that little thing down, you know. I mean, your house is bomb-proof for that child. That little bulldozer that came into your life can't hurt much more in that house because you've already prepared it for them, right? So that's like raising a child. We live in this little realm, but at some point in time, we got to go out of that bubble. Well, then what happens? Well, Mom and Dad, I do this, but why do they do that? I don't want to talk. No. You need to. That's a teaching moment. As a parent, you can feel bad for doing the right thing, believe it or not. You're not always going to have a warm, fuzzy feeling saying, I really am leading them through God's Word. Because you're going to second guess yourself. Number one, because of flesh. Number two, everybody else is over here doing this, and you're over here doing this. The rest of the world's marrying the daughters of men. You're over here fixing to cut trees for the next 100 years. What's right isn't always going to make you feel good. Sometimes you will struggle to find peace in it, but you can know it's right if you're in the Word. Your kids, lost or saved, are being raised by a different standard if you're a godly person. If you're a Christian here today, you hold your kids to a different standard than anybody else. I promise you. They need you. I'm going to say it again because I don't think you really understand it. They're going to find somebody to lead them, and they're going to find something to do if you don't step up. And if you're stepped up, and encourage somebody else to step up. They need honest talks on who to marry. They need honest talks on premarital sex. Oh, he said it in church. Yeah, guess what? I had that talk with my dad. Marry that girl. If you get her pregnant, you're going to marry her. I said that backwards. She's going to be a part of your life for the rest of your life. Every funeral, every birthday, every little thing goes. Guess what? Homes used to have honest talks like that. I don't know if they still do outside of mine, but you can ask Reese. I'd be pretty stubborn. You need to have honest talks with your children. And don't call it premarital sex. Call it what God calls it. Call it adultery. Call it sin. This is my standard. This is what the world's calling it. But this is what God is saying about this. Don't just say it so that way they don't have to deal with the repercussions. Let them know God's opinion on that sin. They're going to have friends that get to do this, and this, and you're going to have to say no. They're going to have somebody that goes and does something on a Sunday, and you're going to have to put your foot out, and you're going to feel bad about it. But in a few years, maybe 20, maybe 30, they'll get over it. And guess what? They're going to say, man, you were right the whole time. And one day you're going to be judged for it. Noah, the man that was popular with God, not popular in the world, he had 0 followers. That'd tear some of you all up. I'm well rested. How about you today? Who are you popular with? Should be a competition here today to be a Christian inside these doors right now. You're here because you're a Christian. We're not competing to be a Christian. But tomorrow, guess what? There's going to be competition to be a Christian. You're going to have to prove it. We saw this week. I'll get to that in a minute. As adults, you're going to get up and you're going to have a job to do tomorrow. Whether it's at home or whether you're going to go and lead a group of men or women in some sort of an area in life, you're going to have a job to do. Most of us have figured out how to deal with people and to be godly in our own ways. But your kids have not. Help them. What about being a Noah in your own family? All of us are so busy trying to save the world, we don't save what's right in front of us a lot of the time. There was a time where the Christian view was respected to the point that the world followed it. I mean, it was shut down on Sunday. And I know I'm repeating things I've said in the past, but just follow me for a minute. There was a time where stores were closed, gas stations were closed. There was a time where you went out to eat and you prayed and you looked around and other people were praying. There's a good chance if you go out to eat tomorrow night and you pray, you're the only one's going to be in that restaurant praying. Look around. This wasn't the case for Noah. Noah didn't grow up in the easy times that we did over the last 50 to 100 years where the church view was accepted by the world. We're starting to see a sign that maybe the world view don't like the church view anymore. Well, it's always been that way. Just bear with me because I think it's going to get worse. Look at verses 9 through 11. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with God. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupted before God, and the earth was filled with violence. Noah had a family he was taking care of. He was a just man, but the Bible says he walked with God. This is the easiest question I get to ask you, but who are you walking with today? Who do you walk with the most? Jason, it just doesn't seem like God's there anymore. It just seems like my relationship with God's changed. He hadn't changed. In whatever time realm my mind can make up, he's been the same. His word tells me that. We have changed. But here's the deal. You just got far away. You need to walk close with him to hear him. So get closer. What's keeping you from growing with God right now? What's keeping you from going back? What's keeping you from being close? Your pride. I don't care what your problem is. What keeps you from crawling back in and asking for forgiveness is pride. What keeps you from seeing that Jesus Christ is the only way of salvation is pride. I can do it my way. I want to work for it. I want to try this. I want to do that. No, because complete salvation is denial. You are nothing before a holy, just God. It's all him, 100%, the faith, everything. But your pride won't let you see that. And the reason I can say that, know it, I was that person. Noah's a man. Look at verse 11. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. You don't think Noah didn't know it? You don't think he didn't look around? He was just like us. He had dreams. He had rations. He had survival thoughts. He had some stuff put up just like everybody else. But God said it ain't going to be no good because we're going to do it my way. Your bullets are going to sink. Your food's going to float away. We're going to do it my way. Look at the times he was living in. He saw the writing on the wall. We had the same thoughts. We had similar warnings. Look, we all had dreams. Noah had dreams. Life don't go the way you think it's going to go. Young people in here, I'm going to tell you right now, keep dreaming. It's great. When you get married, I was telling Tyler and them when they got married, one of the greatest things about getting married young is dreaming. Just driving around looking at houses. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with wanting stuff as long as God's first. But one of the greatest things you can do is dream, and you start checking boxes off the longer you're married, right? We want to start with what we've left home with, but you work for it. It's great. Noah had that, but he was in a different time, and it was all for naught. So if tomorrow, if we had to get on that boat and leave it all behind, you know, the one I said was miles out at sea, could we leave it all behind? Could we get on the boat and let it all sink? A lot of time, those dreams end up becoming the little g God in our life. Everybody in here, I know I've said it, I've thought it, how great it would be to be born 100, 120 years ago. I think I'd fit well in that time. I can be pretty upfront and honest and brutal with people if I have to be. It was an easier, godlier time in our country. Here's the thing, we weren't. What do we do now in this timeline? It may have been easier times, but you weren't born for easier times. You were born for this time. What are you doing now for God? The rain's coming. What are we doing? Look at verses 12 and 13. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. It's pretty hard for a man to hear. If that's not hard for you to hear this morning. I mean, man, our sins are so bad that there's going to be a new earth. That's how wicked, that's how defiled that we can make things. God said, not only that, but I'm going to take man out with it. Think about what he's saying. We just read what the earth was like. All flesh, the earth itself. God didn't miss a thing. See, man was living in that time, and they had their outward sins, but we read where he knew the thoughts of their hearts, where even their thoughts were wicked. He didn't miss anything. He knew every detail of every person. See, God can and will and does judge as, well, really, as he sees fit. My opinion don't matter much, does it? Has anybody told you your opinion don't matter? One day it won't, and you'll know loud and clear it don't. I don't say that with a smile. You either believe it or not. You either believe God judges as he sees fit or you don't. That's it at the end of the day. I fear that. You know, I fear God. We don't talk about that a whole lot. I fear because he showed me to fear him. He showed me what I am before him. I know what I am separated from Christ. God has shown me a small part of him, and the small part that I was allowed to see, I fear. Look at his creation. Look at the world. I was looking at the ocean. He could speak that into existence. Why wouldn't I fear him? Man can't even recreate with all that God's given us something that he can just breathe into existence. We don't know that kind of power. I fear his power. I fear his righteousness because I'm just. Let's keep reading. We got to make up some time. 14 here says, make thee an ark of gopher wood, room shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without the pitch. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make of it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, and the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. Window shalt thou make for the ark, and in it a cubit shalt thou finish it above. And the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof. With lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. And behold, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is a breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. Never hear it in one other place. He doesn't say thou shalt go in. He says thou shalt come in. Into the refuge. Never overlook that. Okay? God gives specific commands to survive this judgment. This is what you got to do. This is what needs to be built. Noah just worked. In spite of all that was going on in the world, in spite of all that he just heard, he was commanded to work. Noah worked. That's not everybody's strong place in life in this world. I'll sound like my dad, older I get, but you got to be willing to work. If not for your own food or money, for the Lord. God asked Noah to work, to have faith. Guess what God's asking you to do today? You need to have faith and get to work. You do the same. These heroes are heroes to us because they are everyday sinful examples of faith. Work and have faith. If I could send you off and never talk to you again, work and have faith. I'll see you in eternity. That's all I could ever say to you. It's easy to serve people in church. It's easy to serve people in this room. We need to get outside of this room. It amazes me this week. I was looking at how many souls there were and are. How many people are on this earth right now? You think about it, earth has never been this populated. There's always been something. Everyday souls. We walk by them every day. Noah had never seen a flood. He lived 100 miles from the nearest ocean. First of all, you build the ark, God will provide the water, amen? You're commanded to do this, he's going to provide the water. Too many people are worrying about where they're going to get their water from. God didn't command Noah to worry about the water. He said, I want you to build the ark. Too many get lost in the small details. Too many want to know about these little things so they can control it. He didn't mention that. He didn't say, I want you to build the water. I want you to worry about the water. I want you to make a ditch for the water. He said, I just want you to build the ark like this. This is what I want it to look like. Secondly, even by today's standards, all ships are big. They're built near the water to slide into the water. A big ship, if it's going into a big enough canal or wherever it's being built, they will slide it in sideways. If the water's deeper, they'll slide it in backwards. Okay? They're on this rail system. I mean, they've let her go. She's float her, sink or swim, you know. This one's different. There's not 100 miles from the nearest ocean, and this man's building an ocean liner sitting here, all right? God would raise this one up. I think we see a picture of salvation here personally. He's going to raise this up. Who provided all the knowledge? Who planted the trees? Who made the mud? Who kept the ark? And yet we can't follow him in faith when he provides it all. Be close enough to God that if he's asking you to do something and it just seems weird that you do it, it's just the next thing to do instead of questioning it all the time. Witness to that person. Buy their meal. Encourage someone you don't want to encourage. Mend an old relationship. That voice that's telling you to do that inside you, the spirit, that's not natural to you. That is God talking to you, saying, I am going to use this if you obey. I mean, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm just, your toes are out, I'm going to step on them. Do we believe in conviction today? I mean, I'm going to ask you, when's the last time, would you tell me, after I get done and shut up, would you tell me what you've been convicted about lately? I mean, do we still believe that God convicts? The ark was 1.5 football fields long, 4 stories high. One man built it. Took him 120 years. You can't give up or grow weary. 120 years, most of us would just be getting started. He did this by himself in 120 years. Serving God is not easy. But some people have never got started. They have not started to cut the first piece of wood yet. One word, work for him. One word, serve him. One word, obey him. I kept trying to think, I wanted some clever word like Steve to define all those. I couldn't come up with it. Servant was the only thing that kept coming back to my mind. Be a servant. Servant. Work, serve, obey. You've been praying a prayer for someone for a long time. Keep building. Don't give up. Don't grow weary. You keep praying. You keep witnessing. I've been witnessing this person for 30 years. Tomorrow may be the day. Tomorrow may be the first raindrop. Don't grow weary. 120 years, this man didn't give up. And the first time it gets hard, we won't give up. Keep building. The rain's coming. At least promise me this morning you'll try for 120 years. Verse 12 and 13, when we read those, that's convicting, that's heavy. God is saying, I'm going to judge, I'm just. It's my creation to judge and to be just over. But then we read verse 18, but with thee I will establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, and thou and thy sons and thy wives and thy sons' wives with thee, and of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female. Of fowls, male and female. I'm not even going to do it. Of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing, of every after his kind, 2 of every sort shall come unto thee to keep them alive. And take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and that shall be for food for thee and for them. I love verse 21. But we see here that God provides a way. God is merciful. Judgment's coming. Here's the way out of judgment. We've seen mercy this week in our own country. I see it every day in my life when my heart's right. You know, he didn't tell them how much food to get. He didn't tell them to put a steering wheel on the boat. He didn't tell them to put a rudder on it. I want you to build it. I'm going to make it float in my time, but you got to put in the work. Look at verse 22. It's a great verse. Thus did Noah, according to some, a little bit. No, he did it all. He did this. According to all that God commanded him, so did he. I'm just going to ask you right now, are you doing all you can? Every person that comes in that store, are you witnessing to them? What a verse. You can't pick and choose your involvement with God. People do it with their spouses, they do it with their kids, their country, their churches, their jobs, their nation. But with God, you can't. He's too big. I see a lot of Christians in the world today, but I'll just be honest with you. I see a lot of half-Christians. I only know a few real Christians. And I hope you don't find that offensive. But it's the truth. What work has God called you to do? Obedience comes when you're walking with Him. What convictions has God brought to you lately? Honestly, for me, I just don't witness enough. I'm just showing you my heart this morning. I go to work every day, and I want to witness to one person a day. That's an easy thing to start with. My life should just be shining out for what He's done for me. We were praying this morning. I broke down. I couldn't even finish praying because I was that person. And He pulled me out of it. Why am I not telling other people where to find that? Because there's somebody that's willing to give them a load of bull. And I have the truth. And I get overwhelmed because I'm trying to make a dollar. Is obedience an irritation to you? If you're walking with Him, it's just the next thing to do. But if you're still being pulled along, obedience is very irritating to you. 120 years obeying God without seeing a thing to encourage Him. He didn't see the first raindrop. Oh, it's starting to rain. I better keep cutting. No, He said it's going to happen. We would all quit. Let's just be honest. We're too soft. Tell you what, a lot of people say, man, that first tree he cut took a lot of faith. 100 years later, when the forest grew back up from the first tree he cut, he was still cutting, that took faith. God put it there, waiting for Noah to come cut it, and then He replenished it. I don't think he had to drag his wood too far. Love of God, family, desire to obey God, that's why men exist in Hebrews 11. See, it was for His house. If you can't serve God for nobody else, do it for your own family. If you don't love your family enough to serve God, then we need to talk. Tired of hearing everybody make fun of you and talk about you? Just keep chopping down trees. Too bad. There's work to be done. I'm sorry. We got a bunch of lazy Christians today. We want God to make everything as easy on us as He can. This is too hard. Whoa. We're out of spiritual shape. I mean, we are nothing compared to churches when we wanted to live 100 years ago. 2 Peter says Noah is a preacher of righteousness. He got to preach. Every time someone heard that act, or to make fun of him, he was telling what God was going to do. If you want out, I'm telling you right now, judgment's coming. You're laughing now, but I'm telling you, judgment's coming. The world's laughing at us right now. Are we telling them judgment's coming, or are we getting offended that they're laughing? Noah had the first 3-point Baptist sermon. I thought it was Steve when I did. It's going to rain. Get on the boat. I mean, he had them. It was easy. Some good one-liners. It's going to rain. What's rain? I don't know. I can't tell you what rain is. All I know is whatever it is, it's coming. I can't explain it all. I don't know it all. But I do know the one who told me, and that's why I'm taking it serious. I may look like a fool to you, but I'm going to keep cutting and I'm going to keep building because I've been commanded to. So keep laughing because I'm sold out. There's not a single one person here who could convince me that you don't care what other people think about you. I mean that. I'm sorry again if that hurts you. But I'd follow that hard statement up with this. Could you convince me that you care about what God thinks? Noah worked and witnessed. I love because he worked. I like people who work. He was willing to put in the work. Why are we silent? Because the world isn't, the school isn't, the government isn't. Why is the church so quiet? We're out of spiritual shape. We can't run with them. We need to get in shape. We need to get in the spiritual gym. I don't know. Think of whatever pun you want. We have something bigger than education and government and any enemy combined. We have Jesus Christ. The Roe versus Wade thing, that was great. God showed a lot of mercy, and I understand that that may be a temporary victory, but I'm going to enjoy it for the moment because I have to look back on the future to glean from it. Here's the thing. They're going to critique you for your beliefs. They're going to look at you. They're going to poke at you for everything you believe. They're going to say it's old, it's out of date, it don't matter, it never did, it's just your opinion. No, it's a fact to me because I know the one who said it. I can say that I know that I know. You keep cutting wood, let them laugh. You will be criticized by them for doing what they are doing, for you standing your ground, but just because you don't believe like they believe. See, we got to stand for our beliefs, but we can't judge, we can't criticize. But they can. Just keep cutting wood, tell them judgment coming. That's all you can do. All you can do. Keep chopping. Don't let the garbage bother you because you know rain's coming. God's revealed that to you. Celebrate the fact that you know the rain's coming. Everyone wants a choice. The world wants to choose what they believe. You have a choice right now, but one day's coming you won't. Tell them the rain's coming. The ark prepared in reverence. In all of God, that's a worship word. Proper fear of. Worship while you work. What drives a man to cut trees for 100 years and build a boat? The Lord. The problem is, guys, 2 weeks ago in the little kids class, every single one of them little kids would have said the Lord. They know the right answer. And we're saying, well, Jason, if it's truth, it's truth. I mean, you know, they got it right. It was reverence that drove him. It was fear. Don't overlook that. God revealed to Noah what God wanted Noah to see. He had a proper fear and awe of God, a personal relationship. Noah trusted that he would be kept if he obeyed God. Never saw a drop of rain until God was ready. And then God said, come in to the ark. He didn't command him to go. He commanded him to come where he was. The work's hard. Job of man, protect his family. Noah built this with love. We should serve with reverence for God's honor. We can do it so the next generation can see us do it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Real men hold on to their families. Real men serve God. Real godly men. What if we showed them? If I say right now, and I'm going to say it, what if we show Corbin and Madison and Peyton and Parker and Aniston? What if we showed them in this church that they're going to carry to the next generation? Don't sit there while your wives serve. That's a dangerous place to be. Vice versa. Kids got a question about God, about Jesus. Who do you send them to? Can you answer them? You're the man. Be a man. 120 years later, Noah learned what rain was. I'm skipping a bunch, by the way. We got to close up here. God made his faith make sense 120 years later. May not be why we're here. It may not make sense. Noah didn't know all the details. He didn't know the navigation. That ark lasted as long as God wanted it to last. What can we learn today? One man can be right while the rest of civilization can be wrong. Be careful what you allow him. God will make it clear one day where he stands. To all. The Hebrew word for pitch, you inspired me, is the root word for the word atonement. I love that. That's one of my favorite things that God ever showed me. He just spread that atonement all over the outside so judgment couldn't get in. I'm going to tell you right now, if you really study this Bible, you're going to see Jesus Christ in every single thing that you see in here. We're sealed by Christ. We are pitched, and nothing can change that. Judgment was on the outside. to get God to move in your life like Noah, we have to obey. With the three little words, he said Noah did all in verse 22, not some. You want to see God work, you got to be sold out. The reason we don't have power or whatever, the reason we're not strong and in shape spiritually is we're only doing some. We're not doing all. We're letting the picking on us while we're cutting trees down. We're still cutting trees, we're just doing it at night so nobody can see us. What if Noah had built half the ark? What if Noah was the same style Christian than we are today? A one-third Christian. You think Noah was confused at times? Listen, men, sometimes you got to have faith for your family, but ladies, I'm going to tell you as a husband, I need my wife's faith sometimes. I need her to be the stability. I need her to calm me. You may not get the attention, but your word carries a lot of power, a lot of weight inside your home. Be willing to speak in faith. His wife stayed with him. She got on the boat. She didn't know what all was going on. She just knows, hey, he's out there cutting wood again, and all of a sudden this thing's starting to make sense. What was that? A raindrop hit my head. Well, who told him it was a raindrop? She had his back. I want to turn to Psalm 147, then I'll stop. If you're taking notes, you need to read Matthew 24, 36 through 39. I'd encourage you to read that from Matthew 24, 36 on with your families at some point in time. To get your kids asking some questions, it'll be a good teaching moment. Psalm 147 is the reason we're here today studying this. I may have sent it out to a few of you this last week. I can't remember. But verses 10 and 11, read this. It says, He delighteth not in the strength of the horse, he taketh not pleasure in the legs of a man. The Lord taketh pleasure in them that fear him, and those that hope in his mercy. I read that this week, and normally I'll move on. I read those two verses together every day, every morning. It doesn't matter how strong or fast or how much you got. That doesn't please God. He gave you those things. What his pleasure comes from is a proper and all fear of worship in those that have hope in his mercy. Utter reliance on him, meaning you're sold out and you're doing it his way. That's how you're going to please him. All right, I'm going to get down. Brother Derek, would you dismiss us?